Hello, we're here again with the Arizona Drag Racing Legends, part of the Arizona Drag Racing Hall of Fame with the Chandler Mafia. the four people I remember is synonymous with Chandler, Arizona, growing up in the valley here. And Chandler was way far away. There wasn't houses all the way. I mean, you had to go to different cities. And Chandler is that city way out in the East Valley. And I see these guys at the drag races, and they always came to race and have a good time. And they had a great time racing, and they had a great time being there. And they're always fun to be around. And so we're bringing them together here as a group to just kind of chat some of the memories and their fun moments and what the team was like through the years. So we have Barry Norman from your left, Mike Finley, Yule Barnes, and Rick Dossie. So guys, what's it like to be? Tell me about Chandler through the early years, and then how the racing and how you all came together.
Well, like I said earlier, I met Finley I was about 5, so he was about 6 years old, and he was in the 2nd grade, and I was in the 1st. And he came riding his bicycle up to my house because he was sweet on my sister. And he came over to see her, and that's how I met him, and I've known him ever since. That's 60 plus years that I've known him. And we wondered a lot of times, why didn't we just go ahead and kill him then and get rid of him? But we didn't. As time went on, his folks, they were pretty wealthy there in Chandler and pretty good, highfalutin. I mean, they didn't like drag racing at all. And Mike rode his bicycle over to Yule Barnes' house, and he had that 56 Chevy with the 2 4-barrels on it. And Yule gave him a ride home in it. And his mother said, "I don't want you riding with that guy. He's trouble." And that's how their friendship started. We've been friends ever since. Then Barry came along about in the late 60s, and he was in the Air Force. I don't remember exactly when I met Barry, but it was around the drags. And he was still stationed at Williams Air Force Base at that time. And known him for 40, 50 years, and been a good guy. He's done work for me. I've done work for him. We've done stuff together. We've traveled together and done things. All these guys are salt of the earth, really. But Yule, he was the one that got us all more or less hooked on cars and racing.
So he was the glue.
He was the glue, yes.
And his passion.
Yep.
What does it mean to you when you hear people say that? Yeah, obviously, besides the people sitting here, there are a lot of people you positively had a positive effect on, by your passion for drag racing and brought them along and got them into it. I mean, today that we don't see that anymore. There's not a lot of mentors around. You mentored a lot of people into it. How does that make you feel?
Well, it makes you feel good about all that you've done and all the people you've met. And it's the better part of the whole thing. Really, the people are the glue to make the thing work. It was a lot of fun and a lot of good people to be around.
The fun memory of drag racing is that you racing somebody, but if they're broken, you're going to race them. You do everything you can to help fix their car so you could race them. Yeah. What other sport has that? No. It's still today. That still goes on. Yeah. There's a lot of great stories about that. The different, how people help each other out because everybody just was there to race. Mm-hmm. Michael was a big part of it. Through his passion of racing, and I remember, I think Mike's the first person of the group that I remember really meeting and saying, "Wow, this guy, he's pretty cool." Yeah, I really enjoyed being around him and be around all of you. What were you guys when you guys had a chance? How you got to meet Mike? Because Rick, you met Mike because he dated your sister. Right. Wanted to date your sister.
Wanted to, and he was only 6 years old.
Yeah. And how old was your sister?
Same age.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I thought maybe she was in high school knowing him.
It'd be hard to do that on a single seat bike.
But you were always the dreamer.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, always after the deal.
Always after the deal.
And what did your sister shun him or? Oh yeah. Well, your sister had some class.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you and Barry have a long relationship. Michael, you and Barry have a long relationship, partners with cars. But when you guys all got together, I think the common glue. You were all from Chandler. You all helped each other out. You all supported and cheered for each other, and some mentored others, and each one of you've mentored other people along the way. There are other people racing that you've helped in their racing careers. But you all came together with the Cotton King car. That was really the pinnacle of what you guys did. Who got the idea to build a rear engine car? Whose idea was it?
Garbage.
No, I know he did.
I mean, that's where it started.
Yeah, but when did you guys want to build a rear engine car? To build a top fuel car? When did you finally come to the point and say, we're tired, we want to go faster? You started as a top alcohol car, right?
Well, we started with
But it was
the,
a rear engine car then.
Yeah.
I mean, rear engine cars were in.
Right.
I mean, you either had that or you didn't.
But you didn't have a car. What made you decide to come together as a team to do that? That's I guess
well,
what
I
I'm
think
saying.
the fact that Atbury made us a deal on that chassis, don't you, the car,
I think so,
the
yeah.
Hannah body.
Yeah.
I mean, if it would have been another $2,000 or $3,000 or $4,000 or $5,000, probably wouldn't have done it.
How did we get a hold of Atbury? 'Cause I remember Bradley brought the car over on top of his trailer. When he was coming to
Bradley and Atbury were
Possibly.
friends.
That was it?
Yeah, that or Jerry.
Maybe it was Johansson. Jerry
Johansson.
possibly. Yeah.
So Jerry Johansson of the Howard Cam fames was definitely was part of the glue that helped mentor a lot of you guys and got you. Hey, there's a deal on this car, or somebody said, look at this car, and you go,
Well, but I'll tell you what, that car sat in my rafters for what, 1 or 2 years
At least a year and a half, yeah.
before we even started to look at it, and we had nothing. As a matter of fact, I was married at the time. The wife came home and said, "What are you doing?" Here, guys out in the backyard. I said, "We're building a swimming pool." She said, "What?" And I said, "We're building a swimming pool." And I already had the shovels going and everything. Didn't talk to her about it. Just, I'm going to do it. It was a garage so we could store the car in. It wasn't a swimming pool.
so you kind of caught on when the hole didn't get any deeper?
Yeah, well, you didn't get wet.
No.
And
So-
see, like that garage, I was a plumber, I put the bathroom in it. Barry was on the block crew, they laid the block for it. I guess we did our own framing on the roof and everything, didn't we?
Yeah, Jimmy Jacobs' dad, I think, helped us there, didn't he?
Yeah, Jimmy Jacob lived across the street, his father was a carpenter.
Another name from Chandler that,
Right.
definitely
Yeah.
important person in the whole scenario. So you a lot of team effort.
Yeah.
Well, yeah,
That's all it was.
tremendous team effort.
You know, I'm surprised that we did get what we did and got done with no money.
None of us had any money, we were all just working guys.
You know, basically like a Frank Bradley deal. Frank wasn't Rockefeller.
No,
He was a plumber, wasn't he?
he was a plumber, yeah.
Everybody needs a plumber.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So when you got the garage built, that's what was the,
Yeah.
and then you said, now we've got a car to build.
Right. I can remember building, if people knew how quick we put that whole car together, including a trailer,
Yeah, we built the trailer ourselves, yeah.
everything was built in my back alley. And I'd go to the people in the front of me and knock on the door and say, "We're gonna make noise till 10 o'clock, okay?" You'll have a grinder going or whatever. I mean,
They're good neighbors. They, that,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they come out to see what we're doing.
Especially when we started that thing, after we got the alcohol car, and we'd start that thing in the evening, and it was loud, but no one said a word.
So what was your first memories of this whole thing coming together?
It was just, like they said, it was just going along.
Went along, and it's like,
Everybody was helping.
did the whole thing start off with somebody saying, "Hey, hold my beer"?
Because if you'd have said, "Hold my beer" with me, it wouldn't have lasted.
Yeah, okay. I seem to remember some of that stuff. So
I can remember where our shop was on Boston Street. There was 2 Indian bars right there, and when we'd start up a race car and rip the throttle, the bottles of the whiskey or whatever they had next to it would vibrate so bad it would come
Fall
off
off the shelf.
fall off the shelf. But bust a bottle of whiskey, and the guy's going, "You broke another bottle of my whiskey." Not my problem.
These are great stories. I
See,
love it.
We had to push it was the old front motor car, push him down the street to get started.
Right.
Just drive in the shop, close the door,
Mhm.
and the bar shared the wall. So you're inside there, whack it a few times, and then the bottles will start falling off.
So you were not really welcome in that place.
They didn't have any choice.
No, okay. You were there. You were forced.
We were there.
So with the Cotton King, you know, we've talked about it. It was a beautiful car. I mean, perhaps that in my memory of what the group, probably the most beautiful car that came out of Chandler.
It was really attractive.
Who painted? And we're going to get some pictures of it and have it on the, you know, put it in the videos so we share with people. But who painted that car?
Who was the guy that,
That first paint job with the lace,
that was done over in Phoenix?
and then the next one was
Who,
Corky.
Bill?
Corky painted the second time.
I thought Squeege painted it.
That was third time. Corky painted it when we first put the Chrysler in it. You and I took my Suburban and your Wagner to get all the body pieces, so we put them in the car.
Right.
And that was over Corky's over by Manzanita Speedway. And then Squeege painted it the last time.
Wow.
Tell you
But
what,
some great Arizona squirters.
He painted it the
Yeah.
first time.
That guy, he had
Is he
that
the guy
lace.
that painted the Indy cars?
there was a guy in Phoenix, and I can't remember his name.
Put the lace on it. Wasn't Kim, was it?
No, that does not sound
Who
right.
Only person, the lace guy I remember.
Kimball?
The lace guy I remember was Larry Zake. He used to do a lot of cars, paint a lot of cars back in
Spread
the
cars
day.
or
He did that and he did a lot of cars for Pioneer Ford and such as well. But that may not have been him. But it was the cars was always beautiful, and you had the wheel fairings on it. Started off with the
and I had to take those off because the NHRA made us.
and they worked as good airfoils.
That's what they were.
Turn your wheels.
Yeah.
Yeah, where the driver couldn't turn
So,
the car again.
You drove the car with them on there.
No, I didn't.
No, nobody. So I was wondering how hard it was to drive with them. You could feel the difference between.
That was when they had the Chevy, and Eddie Pauling drove it, and,
Who all drove that car through the years? I mean, through the time.
well, Glenn Brown drove it the first day in Tucson,
Okay.
and then Atbury drove it at Pomona because nobody had a license. And then,
Johnny drove it.
that was after me,
Johnny drove it, so.
Johnny West.
yeah.
Yeah,
That was
it was
after.
Atbury was quite a bit.
Atbury. Oh, we had Jerry Steiner drive it one time at Orange County.
In Orange County.
We had Jerry Steiner from Northern California, Atbury's was a friend of his. He sent him down and he drove it there.
Pauling drove it at Bakersfield.
Who?
In Sacramento. Pauling.
Pauling.
Pauling did, yeah.
Yeah.
That's when it had the wheel fairings on it and the Chevrolet in it.
So Eddie Pauling.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
Eddie Pauling,
Yeah.
yeah. And then I drove it after
Yeah,
that.
him and then
I drove it for a couple of passes. I got to go 200.
You've been 200.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That was in Orange County.
you drove it
That's
in
awesome.
El Paso too.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, we had the
Yeah.
Chevy in it then.
Yeah. We were doing
Okay.
alcohol then, though.
Alcohol.
Yeah.
I tell you what, at 200, you don't realize how fast the telephone poles come by you. I mean, boom, boom, boom.
You can't count
The you read how long did you run alcohol before you went to Top Fuel?
them. I drove for about a year, I think, on alcohol. 77 and into 78, and then we switched over about halfway through 78, and then I drove it through 79.
So
I quit then.
when was? Do you remember the first discussion on going Top Fuel racing? Who sparked it?
I did.
Yeah, Mike did.
What we did was, Barry, it was you and I with the Atbury shop, wasn't it?
Right.
We got the Atbury shop in California there, and I won't forget this one. And I reached in the back seat, the back of the bed of the truck. We had Buell's truck. I reached in the back of the bed of the truck, brought this item out, sat it down, the alarm went off. Atbury said, "What's that?" I said, "That's the alarm so we can get up in the morning. We like to start about 4.
And that
This was against his religion.
they'd start at noon and work till 2 a.m. Chassis builder.
So at the time, Barry and I were there, and Aunt Barry sort of
Hammered us.
on going to putting a Chrysler in it. And he did make sense, because those motors, I'm sorry, they just outran the Chevy. Nothing you can't beat it.
Built for racing.
Yeah, I mean you just can't beat the damn thing. So that's how we got the Chrysler. And then I said, you know, we're one more step away. What do you mean one more step? We're one more step away from quitting after we put the fuel car together. And then we're broke.
Yeah. Had to take it to Adbury to bycap it because we couldn't push start it anymore. Had to use the starter. So I had to move the motor back. That's why we were up there.
So when they went from the push start to the static start.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So we got there to move it back to be a Chevrolet and came back at being a Chrysler.
The decision was made while you're doing that.
Kinda, yeah.
But
Guess what we did?
if I could go back and pencil everything, you guys would not believe how we built that car within 60 days, 90 days.
Yeah,
Wow.
between 60 and 90 days.
And the frame of a trailer plus all the platform of the trailer.
It was a flatbed. It was a stretcher for a while. Before we closed.
I remember I think I remember the flatbed. Didn't you use it for a while? The flat to trailer your cars out with on the flatbed?
Right.
Quite a bit.
Yeah,
That's
it's
the
a
same
pretty long
trailer.
flatbed trailer.
That's the same trailer we just
Yeah.
built the top on.
So, where were you when the decision to go top fuel? Where they came back and said, "Look, did they tell you they're going to make it
No,
for the-"
I called him and talked to him first about it.
Okay, where did the engine come from? You had all of a sudden you have all these Chevy parts that you're not going to use, and you had to go out and put a Hemi together. How did you?
Swimming pool loan.
Remember Gary Thompson
Yes,
worked at the bank?
yes, I do.
And I called him up, I said, I need $2,500 for a swimming pool. Are you sure? And then he went on from there.
So you put a diving board in, so you need a few more dollars for it. Yeah. Okay. So that's the fund, the GoFundMe for the Hemi.
Right.
So what was it? It was a steel block Hemi to start off with, and yeah.
Yeah.
See, on the Alcoa, you had to run a pound per cubic inch, so you really have to have aluminum load.
Right.
Reliability.
Right. So then you raced top fuel for about a year and a half,
Yep.
and then it was said,
We're broke.
And then Johnny drove it for about, 6 months or so, and then quit completely.
Right.
He went to Pomona. That's not the only place he drove it, was
Johnny?
he? Yeah.
I drove it down there at Elo. Remember it was in the
Oh, yeah, when he
the
ran
one
off
the
the
one
water.
race at Eloy.
Yeah.
Carl Harvey's race at Eloy.
Yeah.
Yeah, when he went off the water.
Drove it off in the water, sitting up on the cage. What's he doing? Made the guy come out, pick him up, and carry him back.
That was an interesting
Didn't
race.
wanna get wet.
I remember that, and I remember Trip Shoemake driving the fuel altar down the track and all the way back in the pits and up in the trailer and shutting it off.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
Sheepies and Johns.
Yeah, it was the cheap order.
Sheep herder,
Yeah, had some good memories there. Together, you obviously the kinship, the friendship, the brotherhood, it still shows, and that you guys all have great respect for one another and love for one another. Is there anything else you'd like to say about your opportunity and what you've done? What if you didn't go drag racing? Could you see yourself doing anything else?
No, just
No.
doing a blog.
Well, that all depends. It depends on if you never went to the drag strip
Right?
to where your hand held out and they shot you full of nitro, then that's one thing. But if you're a football star, that's where your love and passion is going to be.
So for you, I know that if it wasn't for drag racing, you probably would have been on the PGA. You're a big time golfer.
Tennis star.
Tennis star. Tennis star.
Or tennis.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. One of the two, I would have tried my best to.
Yeah, well, you're always very adaptive, but once you got hooked on nitro, that was it.
There's nothing better than a sweet motor with nitro. Harley Davidson's with their I'm sorry, that's not a motor.
The Twin V.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah, but you need to stand on the starting line next to one of them when they take off, though.
Oh,
It's
man.
pretty impressive.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Guys, we really appreciate you being here today and for your comments and your stories, your memories. Thank you from the community of drag race, Arizona drag racing, for being there. It's the people you mentored, the people you helped along the way, and sharing your stories and your memories with us today. Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Thanks
having
for
me.
Thank you.
having us.
thank you for having us.